Mr. Joyner, this warrant is in order. According to this, you have a son that you never paid support for. Care to explain that?
Sir, I just found out I have a son. I didn't know.
Your Honor, Mr. Joyner does not have any defense here today. It is his responsibility to pay child support, and the state of Washington wants him there to stand for contempt.
General, have you spoken to anyone in Washington?
No, sir. No need. Plain and simple. They're going to send an officer here on a flight next week to pick him up. I recommend we hold him to that time.
Your Honor, I have a job. My wife.
Mr. Joyner, I didn't ask you a question. In my courtroom, you don't speak unless I tell you you can speak. Now, I agree with the general. Do you have an attorney?
No, sir.
I represent Mr. Joyner, Your Honor.
Don't say another word.
Your Honor,
I haven't seen you before. Doesn't seem that your client has met you either.
Paul Garrett, Your Honor.
Make your case for your client, Mr. Garrett.
You mind if I have a moment with my client, sir?
You can have to.
Okay, give me the short version. I was in Montana about 8 years ago, and I had a one-night stand with a woman I met in a bar. Mr. Garrett, I've been married for 6 years. I have 2 kids. I'm a teacher. I didn't know I had a son until they picked me up.
Montana. She's in Washington.
I've never been to Washington. Hell, I don't even know her name. This is ruining my life.
Garrett, time's up.
It's simple, Your Honor. I want the warrant quashed. My client has never been to the state of Washington.
This is a valid warrant. My office has no choice but to arrest and hold your client.
You have no choice but to release my client.
This is your first time. So I'm going to give you rule number 1 in my court. When it comes to the child, I decide what's best. So direct your comments to me, and don't tell me I don't have a choice.
Your Honor, since my client has never been to the state of Washington, they have no jurisdiction over him. That warrant is not worth the piece of paper that it's written on.
Your Honor, the judge there has jurisdiction over the mother and child. That gives the state the right to hold this man in contempt.
Your Honor, obviously there was no hearing. How did they decide as criminal contempt without a hearing?
I don't care if there was a hearing or not. I'm going to hold your client. He's going to make his arguments in Washington.
Motion for interlocutory appeal.
Mr. Garrett, you're getting off on the wrong foot in this court.
I'd like a ruling on my motion, Your Honor.
No need. I'm going to let your client go on one condition. He meets the officer that arrives, and he does it here in my court.
He'll meet with your officer, but in my office, in my presence. Otherwise, I'm going to advise him to not meet him at all.
I think you and I need to speak in my chambers later. Mr. Joyner, you're free to go. Mr. Garrett, I'll see you in my chambers tomorrow at 9 a.m. General, step up to the bench.
Yeah, bring some chips to dinner.
Okay.
Just want to get up.
I heard about Monday.
Well,
Yeah, man, it takes everything not to get out and go over to him.
you do know you're just torturing yourself.